I knew something was off the second Blaine offered me coffee. He never offered anyone coffee. Hell, the man didn't even know how the break room worked. But there he was, grinning like a Dollar Tree Ken doll, holding out a ceramic mug like we were old pals about to do a trust fall. I took the cup. It was cold. No cream, no sugar, just like the meeting. Quick alignment, he said, gesturing toward Conference B, was code for, we're about to kick your chair out but want it to look collaborative. The last time someone got called into Conference B for alignment, they were cleaning out their desk by lunch. We sat down. HR was already there, pretending to be busy with a notebook that had nothing written in it. I saw it, just blank pages, scribbled one doodle that looked like a tombstone. Probably mine. Blaine clicked his laptop open like he was unveiling the cure for cancer. Instead, he pulled up a shared folder titled Acquisition Core Assets. My stomach tensed. I'd built that list. I was that list. My team's numbers made up nearly 47% of Core Vail's pre-valuation projections. We weren't just a cog, we were the damn engine. Blaine scrolled to the bottom, did a dramatic pause like he was auditioning for community theater, and said, so, Brenda, about your name on the strategic roster. Funny story. He clicked the 3 dots next to my name. Turns out it was just a clerical error. Click, delete. My name disappeared, just like that. Cleaned it up, he said, smiling like he'd just solved a Sudoku. I sat there, fingers gripping the coffee mug like it might shatter from the heat of my palm. I didn't say a word, not why, not how dare you, not I hope you choke on a paperclip. Nothing. Just watched the screen as 15 years of quiet, relentless work got scrubbed like yesterday's meeting minutes. I'll admit it, my vision blurred. Not from tears. I don't cry in front of suits who moisturize more than they manage. It was something colder, like watching someone piss on your gravestone before you're even dead. If you've ever had a moment like that, where the world tilts and someone else's ambition rewrites your legacy, you know what I felt. Rage wrapped in silence. The kind of silence that isn't passive, storing energy, like a fault line that hasn't cracked yet. Before we go deeper, do me one favor. Actually, two, tap that little subscribe button if this hits home, because 93% of you are listening and not subscribing, and that's just rude. Also, toss us a like. It takes you 1 second, and for our scrappy little team, it's like finding an extra shot of espresso in your sad office Keurig. Anyway, back to the erasure. Blaine closed his laptop with a flourish and stood up, like we just completed a successful brainstorming session. Thanks for understanding, Brenda, he said, patting my shoulder like I was a dog he was about to abandon on the side of the highway. HR handed me a folder, beige, sterile, thick. The corporate version of a body bag. Realignment package, she chirped. Exciting transitions ahead. Only thing exciting was the moment I'd eventually watch Blaine's career burst into flames like a microwave full of tinfoil. But not today. Today, I took my little beige death packet, walked calmly back to my desk, and sat in my chair like it hadn't just been pulled out from under me in slow motion. I stared at my monitor. My login still worked. I still had access to every folder, every document, every bit of version history. And in that precise moment, fog in my head began to clear. Because here's the thing about deleting my name from a spreadsheet. It doesn't delete the work I did or the paper trail that proved it. Blaine didn't just screw me, he made a mistake. A big one, and me? I just remembered that every time he updated a document, the system logged it. Time-stamped. Username and all. It wasn't anger anymore. It was something much more dangerous. Clarity. Beige folder sat on my kitchen table like a ticking bomb wrapped in corporate paper. I didn't open it for 2 days. Just stared at it while eating overcooked pasta straight from the pot and drinking boxed wine that tasted like sour regret. Every time I reached for it, my hand froze like my own body didn't want to make it real. Realignment package. That's what the sticker said. Not layoff. Not termination. Realignment. I was a tire getting rotated before they drove me into a ditch. On day 3, I finally cracked it open. The usual junk, NDA reaffirmation, exit options, knowledge transfer support, and my personal favorite, a bullet point titled Sunsetting of Role. Sunsetting. I'm not a damn sunset. I'm the solar panel that powered this whole place while Blaine was off getting highlights and misusing acronyms. They wanted me to help transition my duties to Darren, mid-level golden retriever in khakis who once asked if Excel could autofill emotions. I was to mentor him, hand him my team's entire roadmap, explain how we kept churn under 2% for 6 quarters while finance kept slashing our budget, show him how to negotiate renewal bumps without triggering procurement's allergic reaction to performance clauses. Translation. Help this idiot steal your job with a smile. The emails started rolling in. HR scheduling knowledge share syncs. Darren sending me meeting invites with names like Absorb Brenda's wisdom smiling face with smiling eyes. And Blaine, ever the showman, CCing me on threads with the buyer's team referring to me as Legacy Ops Support. That was my new title. Not director, not strategist, legacy, like I was a floppy disk in a cloud server world. Around this time, whispers started snaking through the walls. You know the kind. Someone from finance accidentally leaves a Slack open on a shared screen. A casual, yeah, Brenda's probably out once the deal closes. Blaine's consolidating functions. Like I was an outdated button, they were finally ripping off a coat. I didn't sleep much that week. Just sat at the kitchen table with an old company laptop I wasn't technically supposed to still have access to, clicking through archived folders, while Billy the cat purred on the edge of the screen. He was the only one still on my side. That, and maybe a stubborn streak I thought I'd buried somewhere around fiscal year 2016. One night, around 2:11 a.m., funny how betrayal always peaks at weird hours, I found myself rewatching an old onboarding video I'd made for the team. There it was, my voice explaining a crosswalk diagram I'd built that became the backbone of our API integration layer. I'd sent that to the CTO last year. Buyers had seen it, so why was my name not on the revised core asset list? I started pulling old drafts of the deal materials from the server. One folder caught my eye, Pre-Due Diligence Staging Final 2, PDF, classic naming convention. Inside it, clear as sunlight, was the roster from 3 weeks ago. My name, Brenda Roth Core Strategic Lead Retention Eligible. I clicked the document info panel. Last modified, 10:47 p.m. modified by Blaine Rogers. That same night I got the coffee invite. It wasn't a clerical error. He scrubbed me. That kind of detail, that late at night, isn't admin cleanup, that's surgical deletion. He went in with intention and scalpeled me out like a tumor he didn't want the buyers to notice. And it gets better. I searched my inbox for retention clause and found an HR memo from the General Counsel's office dated 2 months back, confirming my eligibility. Signed, scanned, time-stamped. They had it in writing. He had no right. I should have raged. I should have driven to Blaine's condo and egged his Range Rover with frozen paintballs. Instead, I poured another glass of wine, stared at the blinking cursor in a fresh note, started writing down every document I remembered from the due diligence phase. Every clause, every attachment, every dotted line my name ever touched. Because something shifted that night. I wasn't unsure anymore. They think I'm gone, that I'll just sunset quietly? No, I'm the power outage they didn't see coming. Corporate lies don't usually have fingerprints. They're more like smudges, deniable, slippery, wrapped in context and strategy and alignment. But Blaine left a whole damn trail, like a kid sneaking cookies with chocolate all over his face, swearing he never touched the jar. It started with one file, just one. After spotting my name in that pre-diligence roster, Pre-Due Diligence Staging Final 2, PDF, I started tracing backward. Corvail used an internal version control system tied into the shared drive. Nothing fancy, just enough to track document changes and user logins. That's how I found the breadcrumb, a timestamp. 10:47 p.m. User Blaine Rogers. That's when the file was last modified. The same night he scheduled our coffee chat. The same night he gave me the clerical error performance. I dug deeper. There was a metadata panel hidden under properties. Basic stuff. Edit history, author ID, but the funny part, he forgot to disable auto comments. One change said, removed Brenda Roth / moved to legacy tab for optics. For optics. Like I was a zit on the face of the deal. I took a screenshot, then another. Then I saved the original PDF to a password-protected folder, zipped it, and backed it up to a cold USB I kept taped inside an old planner in my desk drawer. Call it paranoia. Call it being the only woman in a room full of men who think rules are something you negotiate once you've been caught. Next, I searched for the HR retention memo. I knew it existed. I'd seen it, skimmed it, filed it mentally as boring but relevant when it landed in my inbox months ago. Took me 10 minutes to dig up. Subject line, Retention Eligibility Confirmation Equity Tranche eSender, GC Harrison date, May 17th, 8:02 a.m. attachment, PDF. Signed, sealed, no ambiguity. Right there on page 2, employee, Brenda Roth designation, Strategic Lead Client Systems Group status, Core Asset Tier Retention Bonus. Eligible Clause 6A Equity Conversion Rights. Yes, you'd think that would be enough, right? Bulletproof, even. But I knew better. I wasn't dealing with truth. I was dealing with Blaine's ambition, which was the corporate version of a hungry python. Didn't care what it swallowed, as long as it kept climbing. So I didn't stop there. I compiled everything into a new folder on my personal drive. Named it something innocuous, Q2 Client Templates Archived. Inside, a subfolder called Taxes. Inside that, the receipts. Screenshots, signed memos, version histories, original drafts, side-by-sides. Even Slack threads where the deal team referred to me as a lock-in priority. Even had a printout of an email from the buyer's analyst thanking me for my invaluable process transparency. I labeled it insurance. But I still needed one thing, a witness. Someone who knew Blaine's adjustments weren't just administrative dusting. Someone with clean hands and a disgust threshold high enough to stomach the truth. Enter Anna, queen of quiet fury and internal audit reports so sharp they made grown men cry in budget meetings. I trained Anna when she joined 6 years ago. She knew where every body was buried and which grave markers were blank. I invited her out for coffee, real coffee, not Blaine's poison cup, and said one sentence. You remember the tier retention structure? She raised an eyebrow. Did Blaine screw you? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I just opened my laptop and showed her the side-by-side asset list edits. She leaned forward, scrolling slowly, absorbing every word like it was written in flames. I can't officially help you, she said, voice low. But unofficially, let me know what you need. I'll keep it clean. I needed clean. I needed quiet. I needed someone who wouldn't flinch if this went nuclear. And Anna thrived in radioactive fallout zones. By the end of that week, I had a timeline, a paper trail, an ally. The fog had lifted. The fear was gone, and the game had officially started. And I didn't ask questions. She asked for folders, permissions, and timestamps. We met twice a week, always after 6, when most of the building had emptied out, and Blaine had slithered back to whatever rooftop wine bar served his favorite $28 spritzers. Our unofficial club met in the least suspicious place possible, the third-floor training room, under the guise of updating internal compliance modules. If anyone asked, we were rewriting onboarding docs. Technically not a lie, I did sneak in a few new definitions like strategic gaslighting and VP syndrome. We worked in silence most nights. Just clicks, screen glow, and the occasional hiss of frustration when we found another doctored doc. Blaine had gotten sloppy. One version of the core asset sheet had my name erased, but left the internal reference ID linked to my employee profile. Another spreadsheet resorted the order, pushing me out of the top 10, but forgetting to change the footnotes where I was still listed as a conversion-sensitive strategic node. His incompetence was my luck. Anna pulled up the buyer term sheets. She'd seen these deals before, knew where the bodies were. Here, she said, pointing to a clause buried on page 38 of the indemnity appendix. Any tampering with attributed asset structures nullifies clause 12A and triggers a full retroactive diligence review. Translation: if the buyer smelled tampering, they could hit pause or worse, pull out entirely and dump liability for the misrepresentation back on CoreVeil's board. It was a nuke, just needed the right launch code. Over the next 10 days, we built it, line by line, file by file, the clean packet. We dated everything, annotated every change, highlighted every inconsistency, built a sidecar document that tracked metadata logs across versions, and I created a one-pager summary of every place my name had been present, and then removed. The final slide was Blaine's own comment. Legacy, cut for optics. She underlined it, twice. I printed it all, bound it, stored it in a plain gray binder labeled Client Renewal Documentation. It sat on my desk in full view. No one ever looked twice. They assumed I was just one more relic doing busy work, while the new brass planned their champagne IPO. But I didn't just stop at building a case. I delivered it. Well, part of it. One afternoon, under the pretext of continuity mapping, I emailed a redacted version of the asset trail to an assistant legal analyst on the buyer's side, Emily. We'd exchanged a few pleasantries before, shared a laugh about how neither of us could keep track of Blaine's title. It changed 3 times in 1 quarter. It helped her once with a procurement data gap when Blaine forgot to include legacy client cost centers. So this time, I sent it like it was nothing. Subject: quick note on tier attribution for continuity planning body. Hey Emily, just wanted to make sure your docs are synced to what was shared last month. Noticed some minor deltas. Might help to review attached appendix fora for consistency. LMK if anything's unclear. Attachment: a zipped folder with masked metadata, sanitized notes, and just enough breadcrumbs to raise eyebrows. I watched that email hover in my drafts for a full minute. My finger hovered, stakes sky high. If legal caught me, I could be sued, fired, blacklisted. Best case, NDA breach. Worst case, I'm toast. But if I stayed silent, Blaine won. Again. And every VP who came after him would learn that erasing people like me came with zero cost. Hit send, and I sat very, very still. The next 3 days were agony. No reply, no bounce back, no signal, but I knew Emily had opened it. Our internal delivery tracker lit up green. Opened, downloaded, flagged. I kept my head down, acted normal. Took my seat in every transition meeting with a neutral expression and a legal pad that was really just a doodle graveyard. Blaine strutted around like a rooster in a henhouse, basking in his own nonsense. Didn't know what was coming, and neither did the board. Because while they were drinking the Kool-Aid Blaine was serving, I was bottling the antidote. Quietly, methodically, not with vengeance screaming, but with vengeance sharpening its nails. Final review week was its own kind of purgatory. The office buzzed like a casino before a bust. Everyone dressed one notch nicer than usual, like that extra blazer would stop the buyer from sniffing out the rot. Blaine had upgraded his wardrobe, too. New watch, new haircut. Same smug aura of a man who thought personality could be purchased in quarterly installments. Every morning began with coffee-fueled alignment huddles that were really just Blaine pacing around, listing off sycophantic talking points, and pretending his 6 months of tenure made him the architect of a decade's worth of work. I sat quietly in every meeting, in the back corner, labeled in the official seating chart as Legacy Ops Support Brenda Roth. That was my new title, lowercase, non-voting, unseen. Blaine always introduced me last, if at all. And this is Brenda, she's part of the Legacy Operations Group. Handles historical workflows, historical, like I was a filing cabinet that occasionally beeped. I stopped correcting him. Stopped making eye contact with the buyers, too. Just kept my face polite, my notepad open, and my binder. The binder within arm's reach. It sat there, unassuming and gray, like the kind of documentation everyone ignores, until it detonates. They thought they had me filed away like a tax form. But what they didn't realize is that some tax forms carry penalties when tampered with, big ones. By Thursday, the deal was in what they called pre-seal pre-review. Final passes. Cross-team Q&A. A lot of nodding and pointing at monitors no one was actually reading. Buyer's senior team had flown in. Their legal counsel, a man named Alden Whitaker, who looked like he'd never spilled coffee on a document in his life, had taken over the East Conference Room. From what I gathered, everything was greenlit, except one thing. It came in at 4:42 p.m. I was in my cube, yes, cube. They'd moved me there from my office to facilitate collaborative transitions when the email hit. Subject, clarification, request Appendix 4A. From Alden Whitaker at Bycroft Partners. Brenda, we've been reviewing the indemnity clauses outlined in Section 12 and cross-referencing them with Appendix 4. We noticed a reference to an attribution list that doesn't appear in the final packet. Can you confirm if Appendix 4A was officially submitted, or if this is a legacy reference? Best, Alden, I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't know how to answer, because I did. Alden was digging, quietly, carefully. Probably had Emily whispering in his ear about a strange file she accidentally received a few weeks back. A breadcrumb was being followed, and now it had led to my doorstep. I checked the CC line, no one else, not Blaine, not legal, just me. This wasn't official protocol. This was surgical. I clicked reply. No greeting, no signature. Just one line, please see Appendix 4A. I hit send. I felt my pulse in my throat. 5 minutes later, my inbox pinged again. Message marked forwarded. Alden had passed my response to 2 internal addresses at Bycroft. Legal, audit. My mouth went dry. I pushed back from my desk and walked calmly to the break room. Poured myself decaf, because anything stronger might have made my hands shake. A few people lingered near the fridge, gossiping about valuation caps and term sheets like they were talking about their fantasy football picks. None of them knew that in a matter of hours, the entire deal's stability might rest on a single appendix and a deleted name. I walked back to my desk. The binder was still there, gray, heavy. For the first time since Blaine deleted me from that roster, I didn't feel erased. I felt seen. I didn't know what Alden would do next. I knew one thing, the cave wasn't dark anymore. The torch was lit. The boardroom smelled like stress and lemon sanitizer. Final negotiations always had that weird stillness, like the air before a summer storm. The glass walls made it worse. Everything felt exposed, visible from every angle. No hiding behind doors or blinds. Just polished surfaces, sterile light, and tension so thick you could butter toast with it. I took my seat in the back corner, right behind a ficus plant, and next to a forgotten tray of muffins that had gone from fresh to fossilized sometime around Tuesday. No placard for me, no water bottle, just a laminated visitor badge with my name misspelled, and a chair that creaked every time I breathed. The table was full. Core Vale on one side, Blaine, CFO Meredith, Legal Chief Howard, and the CEO, Grant, who looked like a man halfway through a root canal. The other side, Bycroft's team, sharp suits, minimal smiles. Alden Whitaker dead center, reading glasses perched at the end of his nose like he was about to grade a final exam none of us had studied for. He cleared his throat. Everyone looked up like it was a gunshot. Alden flipped open a red folder and casually, so casually, pulled out a sheet of paper. Tapped it once with his finger. Then looked up, directly at Blaine. Appears to be a discrepancy in the core asset list from an earlier draft, he said, voice smooth as a scalpel. Can you clarify the removal of Brenda Roth's name? No accusation, no raised voice. Just 24 words that detonated a room full of billion-dollar egos. The effect was immediate. Blaine's jaw twitched. His smile evaporated. He glanced at Legal Howard, who looked like someone just asked him to explain nuclear physics using crayon. CFO suddenly found her nail beds fascinating. Grant, the CEO, blinked. Once, twice. Then leaned forward ever so slightly, palms pressed together like a man praying the table would swallow him whole. No one spoke. 10 seconds, 15, 20. I didn't move, didn't blink. I just sat there, hands folded neatly in my lap, eyes fixed on a crack in the conference table veneer that looked suspiciously like a lightning bolt. The silence was glorious. Eventually, Blaine opened his mouth. I believe that was corrected for structural streamlining, he said, words sticky and slow. The legacy roles were consolidated for clarity. Interesting, Alden said and made a note with his pen. Because the earlier version, dated April 12th, lists Miss Roth explicitly as core strategic lead. Retention eligible. Tire. Blaine shifted in his chair. That must have been an early draft, not reflective of the current alignment. Who made that determination? More silence. Grant cleared his throat, but no words came out, just a weird wheeze like a balloon losing air. Howard finally spoke. We'd have to check internal documentation. There may have been a clerical recategorization. Alden didn't react, just nodded like a man watching a dog attempt calculus. I see, he said. Well, we'll need to revisit the indemnity clause then. Section 12.4, subpoint B, landed like a brick in the room. Section 12.4, that was the trigger clause. The one Anna had circled in red ink. The one that said, in very plain legalese, that any misrepresentation or omission in the attribution roster nullified buyer protection and could initiate a full audit. The CEO shifted uncomfortably. Blaine stared at the paper in front of him like it might bite him. I could practically hear the blood draining from Meredith's face. Still, I said nothing. Wasn't the one on trial? Not anymore. The air had shifted, not subtly, dramatically. I could feel their panic growing like heat on my skin, and the best part, they couldn't even look at me, because doing that would mean acknowledging I was still in the room, still relevant, still essential. And they'd all signed off on pretending I wasn't. So I sat, quietly victorious, as the buyer's legal team requested a recess. The crack in the table glinted in the light. Lightning was coming. The printed page made a soft sound as it slid across the table, barely a whisper. But in that sterile, silent room, surrounded by sweating suits and ticking pens, it might as well have been a thunderclap. Alden didn't raise his voice, didn't throw accusations or throw shade. He just pushed the sheet forward with a single, deliberate motion and adjusted his glasses. Everyone's eyes landed on the bold, highlighted line halfway down the page. Brenda Roth Core Strategic Lead Retention Equity Eligible. It was from the April 12th version. Clean header, official footer, metadata intact, no room for interpretation. Then Alden looked up, first at Grant, then at Blaine, and asked the quietest question I'd ever heard echo so loudly. What did you do? Blaine blinked. Twice. His mouth opened, but the words jammed in his throat like a Bluetooth headset too tangled to use. It was a clerical correction, he muttered, finally. Alden raised one eyebrow like a disappointed dad catching his kid in a lie about homework. A clerical correction, he repeated, voice flat as drywall. I watched the CEO's shoulders tighten. His eyes darted to Legal, then to Blaine, then away, as if the table might offer escape if he stared hard enough. Across from me, Meredith quietly closed her laptop like a woman bracing for a shipwreck. Silence around the page grew heavier with every passing second, like the ink itself was pulling gravity. "No versioning notes indicate this change," Alden said, gently tapping the edge of the paper. "In fact, the only associated metadata is from a user named B. Rogers. Timestamped 10:47 p.m. No justification logged. No supplemental documentation submitted to support the removal." Howard from Legal began to say something, stopped. "Tried again?" We were under the impression that her role was no longer material to the strategic architecture. Alden's eyes didn't blink. "Then why is her name referenced 6 times in the client continuity roadmap?" I saw Blaine flinch. The binder on my lap was humming now. Not literally, but with weight, with presence. With the slow-burning satisfaction of knowing the weapon you built in silence is now glowing in the center of the battlefield. Alden leaned back. "Take a 15-minute recess," he said, tone gentle but final. "We'll want to revisit the indemnity language in light of this." Blaine tried to interject. "There's no need for that. We can clarify." Alden stood. "We will clarify. But first, we'll verify. Integrity before signatures, Mr. Rogers." He walked out, leaving the page on the table like a dropped match. Grant didn't say a word. Neither did Meredith. Howard was scrolling furiously on his tablet, no doubt hunting for some last-ditch legal camouflage. Blaine looked like a balloon half full of helium and lies. Me, I didn't move, didn't smirk, didn't gloat. Just stared forward, hands resting on the binder in my lap like I was holding a hymnal in church. Because that's what this felt like, a quiet sermon delivered in the temple of corporate justice. Let them stew. Let them scramble. I'd spent 15 years building the machine. I thought they could just scratch my name off the engine block and still expect it to run. Now they were finding out what happens when you pull out the core gear and call it streamlining. I glanced at the page still sitting on the table. My name, my title, my worth highlighted in yellow, surrounded by silence. And finally, the room saw it too. They say silence is golden, but in a deal room, silence is fire in the walls. You don't see it at first. Then a smoke tendril curls under the door. And by the time you smell it, the structure's already burning. That's what the 15-minute recess became. A slow, visible combustion. The moment Bycroft's team stepped out, the core veil side erupted, not with yelling, but with the panicked rustle of suits repositioning, whispered damage control, and the rapid clack of Legal's laptop keys trying to summon plausible deniability from a black hole. "Pull the draft lists," Meredith barked a junior associate, who ran out like a waiter chasing a dropped tray. Grant demanded to see any version that predates April, as if a time machine might absolve omission. And Blaine sat perfectly still, eyes flicking from person to person like he was trying to guess who'd throw him under the bus first. Spoiler, it was all of them. I stayed seated, binder closed, calm. Howard from Legal turned toward me, voice clipped and urgent. "Brenda, could you assist us in clarifying the retention attribution history?" Assist. Now they needed me. I stood slowly. Took my time crossing the room. Let them feel every heel click on the tile. Let them remember every meeting they sidelined me, every document they wiped my name from, every door they quietly closed while smiling through their teeth. I pulled out a chair, not at the wall, not at the margin, right at the table, across from Grant. Next to Blaine. No one stopped me. I placed the binder down like a priest setting down scripture. "This should help," I said simply. No smugness, no venom, just calm, precise authority. I opened the binder to the tab labeled 4A, then slowly rotated it toward the center of the table. First page, the April 12th attribution sheet with my original designation. Second page, the General Counsel memo confirming my tier a status. Third, side-by-side comparisons showing where Blaine had intervened. Fourth, the full text of Clause 12.4 from the deal contract. Alden and Bycroft's audit lead returned first. They didn't sit. They stood behind their chairs like referees waiting for a foul to be admitted aloud. Alden spoke calmly. "We've reviewed Clause 12.4. If the attribution discrepancy is material and intentional, the indemnity protections dissolve. Would put full liability for financial misrepresentation on Corvail's board." A beat of silence. "Then, we'll need an explanation now, or we suspend the deal until one is produced." The room froze. All eyes turned to Blaine. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Just a weird noise like someone half swallowed their dignity. Grant's voice finally cut through. Brenda, would you walk us through what you've provided? I did. I kept it simple. Chronological, factual, no embellishment. I pointed to Blaine's edit timestamps, the removal notes, the compliance risk, the unacknowledged clause that nullified indemnity. Every page turned like a guillotine blade, silent and swift. Alden nodded once. This aligns with what we've observed. Thank you. He looked at Grant. Will require a revised settlement reflecting her eligibility, retroactive, and a written correction to the attribution roster. Immediately. Grant didn't argue, just nodded slowly, like a man trying to remember how to breathe with a collapsed lung. Meredith whispered something to legal. Blaine tried to speak again. I thought. Grant shut it down with a look. Not another word. In that moment, I wasn't Brenda the legacy op. I was Brenda the fix. The fulcrum. The woman holding the final thread that kept their $600 million dream from unraveling into litigation and lawsuits and headlines about malfeasance and bad faith. Didn't gloat, didn't smirk, didn't even blink. Because when you build something quietly, patiently for years and they try to erase you, you don't shout when justice lands, you watch. And in that room, surrounded by men who had written me off as a footnote, I had become the correction. The pen barely made a sound as it scratched across the paper, but to me, it sounded like a gavel slamming down. Grant, our CEO, stoic, usually so buttoned up he made mannequins look relaxed, signed the revised compensation settlement with the look of a man accepting gravity for the first time. His signature dragged a little at the end, like his hand didn't want to finish it. Like he knew that once the ink dried, the game he thought he'd mastered had changed. Across the top of the document, Retention Equity Settlement Roth K. Mount 3x Original Tier of Value Clause. Release and reinstatement of attribution rights 3 times what they originally promised me. Why? Because I didn't just show my worth, I proved the cost of erasing it. Grant slid the paper across the table toward legal without looking at me. Meredith passed me a clean copy. She didn't speak, just nodded, tight, professional, almost respectful. Nod of someone who knows when a ship has been saved by the very passenger they tried to throw overboard. Then came the final act. Alden, ever polite, leaned slightly forward and spoke with all the calm of a man who'd seen too many boardrooms implode to enjoy it anymore. One more item, he said, eyes landing on Blaine like a laser dot on a wall. Will require that Mr. Rogers be removed from all post-close transitional roles, effective immediately. His presence represents an unacceptable risk to continuity trust. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. Grant nodded slowly, turned to Blaine, who by now looked like he was aging in real time, and said quietly, "Please step out of the room, Blaine. You won't be returning." Blaine didn't argue. He stood, pale, shoulders sagged. The kind of posture reserved for men who have finally realized the mirror has been lying to them for years. He didn't even glance at me, just walked out, suit wrinkled, legacy undone. No applause, no fanfare, just deletion, poetic. When the buyers finally stood to shake hands, Alden gave me a very specific nod, not the formal one he gave the others. This was acknowledgement, not just for surviving the storm, but for steering the damn ship through it. I gathered my things in silence, closed my binder, slipped it into my tote, straightened the badge on my lapel one last time. As I stepped out of the glass doors and into the marble-tiled lobby, the chill of the air conditioning hit me like a reset button. Clean, final. I walked past the reception desk I used to rush by every morning at 7:03 a.m. on the dot. Past the motivational posters Blaine had hung up during his first week, the ones that now felt like punchlines. Past the security guard, Carl, who gave me a little 2-finger salute as I passed. Didn't know what had happened, but something in my stride must have told him it was done. Outside, the sky was clear. The kind of clear that looks scrubbed. I pulled my phone from my coat pocket to order a car. One new message. From David Brandt, CEO, Bycroft Partners subject. Follow-up text. Brenda, we'd like to discuss a post-close role. Your work speaks for itself. Let me know when you're free. I stared at the message for a second. Not long. I scrolled up in my inbox to the old email titled Alignment Meeting Invite. Opened it, clicked delete, watched it vanish. Then I smiled, not big, not loud, just enough. Because sometimes the real revenge isn't fire or fury. It's being the last one standing with your name still printed on the blueprints, and walking out the front door whole. Thanks for joining the fun, you office survivors. Subscribe for more switch-flicking drama. Let's make your former coworkers sweat.